Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to week 4 of the SuspectHillSafety.net forums Let's Play Summer School competition. The theme this week is Science Class, which basically means you have to play a game where the main character is an animal of some description. To this end, I've chosen Jazz Jackrabbit, a 2002 action-adventure platform game released for the Game Boy Advance. It's actually a reboot of a moderately successful franchise on the PC from the mid-1990s, but more on that a bit later. The basic plot is very simple. We play as Jazz Jackrabbit, who is a space explorer, and he's been kidnapped by these very hungry chameleons who want to eat him. Fortunately for us, they have assigned the world's laziest guard to our cage, that's Larry the Lazy, as the cutscene tells you, and even more fortunately, they haven't put a lock on the cage because they're so dumb and, as the cutscene says, low tech. So we can just walk out of there with no bother, grab our gun, and start blasting away. The A button shoots, the B button jumps, and that's all about there is to the gameplay. Well, no, there's a few more advanced tricks as well, which I'll get to as they come up in the video. Your gun has 8-way directional fire, which is very, very handy. Now, this chameleon here is blocking the way. You can aim the gun up and to the right, or you can do what I'm doing here, jump up and fire at him. The chameleons go down very easy. 3 shots with the blaster will take them out. In fact, to be perfectly honest, none of the enemies in this first run of stages are that challenging. Now, we have a large chasm we have to cross here, and also a chameleon guarding it. So the first thing you need to do is run to the left here and blast the chameleon. You can actually do it off the screen if you fancy, but I wasn't. And then you're supposed to cross that gap by doing the helicopter move, by jumping and holding the jump button. Also, if you fall from too great a height, you'll take damage like in most games of this ilk, and also turn into a rabbit-shaped pancake, which, given how ravenous these chameleons are, I'm guessing they actually kind of like, so you want to avoid that at all costs. You're meant to use the helicopter move there to cross that chasm, but honestly, you can just clear it with a normal jump, it's not that wide. There is, however, a neat little secret down here guarded by 2 chameleons with blaster guns, and that secret is money! Specifically $12, except we can't call it dollars because it's a game set in space, so they call them space credits. The dollars, or space credits, do have a purpose, however. You can actually use them to upgrade your weapons, buy new weapons, and buy ammo. After every 4 stages, you will enter a weapons depot, or weapon shop, and then you use the money you've collected throughout the stage to buy, as I say, new items, new weapons. It's kind of interesting, it adds a little something to the gameplay. Because this is just your basic standard tutorial level to show off the gameplay mechanics. Nothing wrong with that, of course, plenty of games do it. And these carrot gates symbolise the end of the stage. And no, I'm not going to save my progress because that would take way too much time. The helicopter ears move, I guess I'll call it. That's remarkably similar to Dixie Kon's helicopter spin from Donkey Kong Country 2. In fact, I was going to play Donkey Kong Country 2 this week, but one of my competitors beat me to the punch. Not that I'm bitter at all, or anything, rastedly. Also, it's kind of nice for this chameleon to be stupid enough to just wait on the top of the ramp so I can blast him. And speaking of blasting, we now encounter, for real, these chameleons with blaster guns. They are a little bit more tricky to deal with. They still only take 3 hits. They're completely unchanged from the club-wielding enemies in that respect. They're very easy to take down if you're on an even play, because you just duck down or jump over the shots and then shoot them. But if you're higher or lower than them, they can be kind of tricky to take down. I don't know. In some respects, they're harder. Also, that's a health pack, and in later levels, they are a godsend. I don't know. The enemies in this game are kind of tricky to take down. It varies. Sometimes they're harder on your level. Sometimes they're harder higher than you or lower than you. I'm kind of ranting. Honestly, these stages are not that hard at all. And now another new mechanic. Our first weapon that we can pick up is the machine gun, and quite honestly, I love the machine gun. I've switched here to the basic blaster again with the R button. There is a reason for this. As you progress further and further into the game, also, I'm not quite sure why I stood up there to take that shot in the face, and there's an extra life. There's quite a few extra lives dotted throughout the course of the game. They're quite generous in that regard, and you can also buy them if you have enough money from the weapons store. As I say, if you press the R button, you will switch your weapons, and this can be very useful, although later on when you're in like a massive fight, it can be kind of tricky to switch the weapons. But here's where the machine gun is an absolute godsend. And also, Jazz, you should know you never say you and what army, because the response will always be that an army shows up, although this army is just 7 chameleons. And that right there is why the machine gun is awesome. The army shows up, you just duck down and blast away. Then you lure them over to the left-hand side of the screen, and you continue blasting away. The machine gun isn't that good. Also, football fans will love that little bit of dialogue that Jazz just gave there. And when I say football, I mean European football. You know, soccer to you Yanks. Not American football. Right. Xenophobia aside, again, another guy just walks right up to the ramp and then stops short so I can blast him. Where was I before I had a massive tangent? Oh yeah. The machine gun isn't that superior in terms of power to the regular blaster. But I think I just prefer it because of the sound it makes, and also it's a lot more rapid fire. And there's a secret here beyond this Chameleon statue. The door must be opened in order to exit. There's some money behind on top of it, there's some money behind it, and some machine gun ammo. I'm actually not going to be using the machine gun ammo for the rest of this stage, however, because it's always wise to preserve your ammo, as is the case in most games. There isn't much to take care of, though, in the rest of this stage. There's just one more Chameleon to take care of, and down he goes. And then we pull this lever, and something magical happens. The statue's jaw blows up. Because apparently these Chameleons were so stupid, they implanted TNT into their statue as they were building it. And that'll just about do it for this level. Like most of the stages in this world, it's not that difficult really. At least on normal mode it's not that difficult. On the hardest difficulty setting, this game gets insane in a hurry, let me tell you. There are 20 stages in all, I believe. There's 5 worlds with 4 stages each. The game actually claims that there are 6 worlds with 4 stages, but they're lying. It's only 5 as far as I know. Still, 20 stages is not bad at all. I mean, it's a pretty good length for a Game Boy Advance game. It's nowhere near the length of some games of its ilk, but it's still not that bad. And the helicopter ears, as you see there, are a very useful tool, especially in this sort of labyrinth level. And again, that guy's still not clever enough to come and bash my brains in on that ramp. You've got to love poor AI in video games, and you've got to love video game logic. The helicopter ears, as I say, they're very useful for slowing down your descent so that when you land from a high fall, you don't turn into a rabbit-shaped pancake. Health packs are also very useful. This is another short stage. No other stages in this world are particularly long, but then again, this is to introduce the game. What did you expect? Again, you can't just jump up and shoot that guy, but it's a lot easier this time to just angle your shots up and to the right. I do like the 8-way directional fire. It offers a lot more, not mobility, but a lot more versatility in combat, especially when there are multiple enemies coming at you at the same time. Explore this alcove up and to the left here, you'll find some space credits, or money to most normal folk, and an extra life, which was well hidden. And by well hidden, I mean not, because anyone who's played 5 minutes of a platform game will have realised that there had to be some nice reward for going all that trouble and going through that hidden alcove. Now, I mentioned earlier how Jazz Jackrabbit began life as a PC franchise. It was originally released in 1994 under the imaginative title of Jazz Jackrabbit by Epic Games. Indeed, Jazz here actually became the mascot for that company soon after the game came out, in much the same way that Zool, that I played back in week 1, was the unofficial mascot for Gremlin Interactive Software. The game was actually very well received on the PC, to the point that it actually won Arcade Game of the Year in 1994, which is very, very strange because, as far as I know, it never came out for the arcade. But sure, that's just a technicality. I'll talk a little bit more about Jazz Jackrabbit history a bit later on, but first of all, we have business to take care of in the form of the King Chameleon, who we actually saw, if you can remember, in the opening cutscene. And there are 2 ways that this guy attacks you. Also, I like the fact that he rips off the thing in his pre-battle speech. He will either try and club you with his massive weapon, and that wasn't suggestive in the slightest, or he will do a charging attack, and if he does that, best you to start shooting at him because he will be stuck in the wall for a good 5 seconds, as he is here. This guy is pathetic, quite frankly, as a first boss. I know he's the first boss. The first boss is usually very, very easy, but he's just not a challenge. Look at this. If you're feeling particularly ballsy, you can just jump over him again and again and keep blasting him. Also, I call a mulligan, goddammit. I jumped over him, but the game thought I didn't, so it clubbed me. And there he goes. That's karma, you damn chameleon. You tried to eat me, you cheated in my fight against me. You cheated in the fight against me, and now you're dead from a stomachache after you tried to eat. That's what you get. Another cutscene here that I'm going to skip through because there isn't time to play it. But this giant orange bunny rabbit is Margesley, who is Jazz Jackrabbit's boss, for want of a better term. Also, you'll notice we unlocked a multiplayer map there. This game actually has multiplayer, basic as it is. And another character introduced here is Zoe Cottontail. Zoe is Jazz Jackrabbit's love interest, but as you can see here, she's not that interested in him, it's purely one-way traffic. She actually replaces Eva Earlong, who was Jazz's love interest in the PC games. And another couple of characters who were in the PC games were Spaz Jackrabbit, who is Jazz's brother. He's got red fur instead of green, basically, he's just a palette swap. And the villain of the game is called Devon Shell, though in this game, for some reason, he was renamed to Dark Shell and he became a Darth Vader ripoff. Now, the weapons depot, you use your money to buy new weapons, including this rocket launcher. Now, the rocket launcher is a really beastly weapon. You can't move very fast when you're using it, and you can't fire it in mid-air. But it kills most things in one hit, as you'll see here. And now we're into the second world, Keratopolis. And the puns in this game are killing me. I swear I can taste my own bile from that one. Keratopolis is a very different sort of a world, whereas the first world was all about tutorial and, very sort of small enclave stages. Also, I quite like the Star Wars reference that guy mentions. Keratopolis is a lot more wide open space and it's easy to get lost. We're not facing chameleons anymore because they're all dead. Instead, we're facing saurians. In this game, saurians are basically Tyrannosaur mercenaries. Saurians actually show up in a variety, also for some reason switching through the weapons like it's going out of fashion there. Saurians show up in a variety of science fiction franchises, most notably Star Trek, although they look very different to the saurians in this game. The saurians are a lot tougher to deal with than the chameleons, mostly because they're actually smart enough to shoot downwards and therefore ducking does very little when you're taking care of them. Fortunately, we just received a new weapon, the carrot grenades. I could have bought these back at the depot, but I wanted to save up my money for that rocket launcher. Although you have noticed that the rocket launcher doesn't do that much in the way of splash damage. In fact, it doesn't do any splash damage at all. And also, for those that are fans of sequence breaking, I just did a bit of sequence breaking right there. You're actually meant to go the long way across the ground here, kill those saurians, jump up and kill the guy with the key to free these two citizens of Keratopolis. Still hate saying that pun, by the way. But I decided, what the hell, speedrunning tactics, and did a bit of sequence breaking. I do like the rocket launcher, even if it does make you slow and cumbersome. These guys are throwing grenades, and if I didn't have the rocket launcher equipped, I probably could have avoided that one, but what the hell. So, the original Jazz Jackrabbit game in 1994 was very well received when it came out, and so it's no surprise that a sequel came out a few years later in 1998. Also, this is the rebound gun. It's a bit similar to the rocket launcher in that it still takes things down in one hit, but now you can actually have full mobility while you use it. You can also bounce it off the walls, just be careful, as the in-game text says, that you don't hit yourself with it. Otherwise you'll feel rather silly. At least I did when it happened to me. More ammo for the rebound gun over here. The rebound gun is by far your best choice in this level. The rocket launcher is big and powerful, but its lack of mobility makes it kind of hard to deal with the saurians in a firefight. Also, the rebound gun is used to solve puzzles as well as shoot bad guys. You have to shoot a shot through this narrow space to hit that target and open the door. There's quite a few of these puzzles, or sections, because they're not really puzzles, present throughout Jazz Jackrabbit, and I kind of like it. It's a nice break up from the constant killing action, although, of course, in video games, killing is always good. Not in real life, I'm not a psychopath, people, believe me. The carrot grenades also take down enemies in one hit, as I said, but no, the rebound gun is still the best choice, although unfortunately there isn't much ammo for it. There's too much of a delay when you throw the carrot grenades for them to be a really viable weapon in combat. Although they are useful in one stage of this world, which unfortunately we're not going to get to see much of because I'm running out of time. So before I do, a few more words about Jazz Jackrabbit 2 then. It came out in 1998, it gave you the ability to play as Jazz or his brother Spaz, and later expansions, because it was a PC game, added their sister Lori. It was another well-received game, although not quite as well-received as the original game. It certainly didn't win any silly awards. There was also going to be a Jazz Jackrabbit 3D coming out in the early 2000s, but unfortunately for whatever reason that was cancelled, and instead we got this Game Boy Advance reboot. They redesigned Jazz's character to make him a little more like Han Solo from Star Wars, although we can definitely say in this case with that Chameleon army that Jazz shot first, and indeed the game references Star Wars and Star Trek quite a few times, and I really like the humour in this game throughout some of the dialogue. It really has a nice touch to it, and if I had to liken this to anything, I would say it was kind of Earthworm Jim, because the gameplay is similar with the shooting and also the helicopter move, and the general humour and aesthetic of the game cross with Star Wars. It's not the best game I've ever played, but there's certainly enough in it to recommend at least giving it a try, along with the PC games. But sadly, my time is up and that's all we have time for. So that was Jazz Jackrabbit Advance, and join me next week for whatever Rhete has us play next. Until then, bye for now.